She thought she was leaving for a shopping trip. I held the door open, smiled, and said, "Good luck on the date, but your lover can't walk." She froze, not because she didn't understand, but because she did. And in her silence, I knew something. I wasn't the victim anymore. Let me back up. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. My name is Derek Hawthorne. I'm 38 years old. I work as a logistics engineer at a freight company. Not exciting, not glamorous. The kind of job where you spend your day making sure containers get from point A to point B without anyone noticing. Invisible work. The kind where success means nothing goes wrong and nobody thinks about you at all. I got comfortable being invisible. Melissa, my wife of 9 years, started changing about 6 months ago. Little things first. Nothing dramatic. Nothing you could point to and say, "There, that's the moment everything broke." It was subtler than that. More insidious. She stopped asking about my day. Used to be the first thing she'd do when I got home. "How was work? Anything interesting happen?" Now she barely looked up from her phone when I walked through the door. Just a distracted "hey" and back to scrolling. Started checking her phone during dinner. We used to have a rule. No phones at the table. It was our time. Sacred. We'd talk about our days, make plans for the weekend, laugh about stupid things. Now her phone sat right next to her plate. Every notification made her eyes flick down. Every buzz made her fingers twitch. She laughed at messages I couldn't see. That was the worst part. These little smiles, these quiet chuckles. When I'd lean over, trying to be playful, trying to see what was so funny, she'd tilt the screen away. Casual, natural, like it was nothing. "Work stuff," she'd say. Melissa worked at a travel agency downtown. Marketing specialist. She sold vacation packages to people who could afford to forget their problems for a week. Luxury resorts, all-inclusive beaches, European river cruises. I used to think she was good at it because she believed in escape. She'd talk about the destinations like they were magical. Like stepping on a plane could transform you into someone new. Now I know she was good at it because she practiced escaping every day. From me. From our marriage. From the life we'd built together. The late nights started in February. Just 1 or 2 at first. Conference calls with West Coast clients, she said. Time zones made evening calls necessary. I nodded. Understood. Kissed her forehead. Went to bed alone. Woke up to find her curled on the couch, laptop still open, face illuminated by the blue glow of the screen. By March, it was twice a week. Then 3 times. Then I stopped counting because it became normal. The empty bed, the cold sheets, the silence of the house at night. March also brought weekend team-building retreats, corporate bonding exercises, trust falls and ropes, courses, and whatever else companies convince themselves builds loyalty. I offered to drive her. She said the company arranged transportation. Group van, everyone going together. Made sense. I watched her pack, noticed she brought the red dress, the one she wore on our honeymoon in Maui, the one that hugged her hips and made her feel beautiful. The one she hadn't worn in 3 years because she said it didn't fit right anymore. For team building. I didn't say anything. Just kissed her goodbye. Told her to have fun. Went about my weekend alone. I'm not stupid. But I'm patient. There's a difference. Stupid people don't see the signs. Patient people see them and wait. Collect information. Build a case. Make sure they're right before they act. I started noticing patterns. Logistics is about patterns. Movement. Flow. How things get from one place to another. The routes they take. The time it requires. The resources consumed. Apply the same principles to a marriage and you see things clearly. Melissa's patterns changed. She withdrew money from our joint account in odd amounts. 200 here, 350 there. Never round numbers. Never enough to trigger bank alerts or raise obvious questions. Always cash. Cash doesn't leave digital trails, can't be traced, can't be proven. Smart, really. Her Instagram changed too. She posted less frequently, used to share everything: latte art from the morning coffee run, sunset from her office window, shoes she was considering buying. Now her feed was sparse, curated, careful. But when she did post, the locations were wrong. Background details didn't match. Conference in Phoenix showed palm trees in the background, but Phoenix is desert. Cacti, not palms. Team dinner in Portland had airplane windows reflected in the restaurant glass. Small mistakes. The kind you only notice if you're looking. She was flying somewhere. Often. And lying about where. I didn't confront her. I watched. Documented. Built my case like I'd build a shipping manifest. Every item accounted for. Every discrepancy noted. I created a simple spreadsheet on my personal laptop. Nothing fancy. Just 3 columns. Date, event, discrepancy, dates she claimed to work late. Matched dates, money left our account. Dates her location tags didn't match her stories coincided with unusual credit card charges. Hotels in cities she hadn't mentioned. Restaurants in neighborhoods she'd never been to. Uber rides at times she claimed to be in meetings. I'm an engineer. I like data. Data doesn't lie. People lie. Numbers don't. By April, I had enough data to see the shape of it. A pattern had emerged. Clear. Undeniable. My wife was having an affair. The timeline suggested it had been going on for at least 6 months. Maybe longer. The financial records showed she'd spent approximately $8,000 on it. Our money. Money we'd saved together. Money meant for home repairs and vacations and the future we'd planned. But I needed the name. The face. The person she thought was worth destroying our marriage over, because there's a difference between knowing your wife is cheating and knowing who she's cheating with. One is abstract pain. The other is specific rage. I found it in the dumbest place. Her iPad. She forgot to log out of Instagram on the device she left on the kitchen counter one Saturday morning. She'd gone to yoga, she said. Real yoga this time. Her mat was gone. Her water bottle, too. She'd be gone 2 hours. I didn't hack anything. Didn't need sophisticated software or technical skills. I just looked. The iPad was unlocked. Instagram was open. I clicked on her messages. I scrolled through their messages sitting at our kitchen table. My coffee got cold. The sun moved across the kitchen floor, casting long shadows through the window. Birds sang outside. Normal Saturday morning sounds. Meanwhile, I sat there reading the entire documented history of my wife's affair. They met during a girls' trip to Miami last fall, October specifically. I remembered that trip. Melissa and 3 friends celebrating someone's birthday, beach resort, pool bars, Instagram photos of cocktails and sunsets. I'd helped her pack, driven her to the airport, told her to have fun. He was staying at the same hotel, Cameron Blake, second officer for Pacific Airlines. They met at the resort bar during sunset. She told him she was married. He said he didn't mind. She apparently didn't either. The messages were disturbing, and it wasn't just their inappropriate tone, though that was part of it. Explicit details about what they'd done, what they wanted to do, photos I wish I could unsee. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was how dismissive they were. Of me. Of our life. Of everything we'd built together. Like I was an inconvenience. An obstacle. Something to work around rather than someone who mattered. He doesn't even notice when I'm gone, she wrote. Boring guys never do, Cameron replied. That's why you need someone who makes you feel alive. I feel so guilty sometimes. Don't. You deserve to be happy. You deserve excitement. You deserve someone who appreciates you. You're right. I've wasted so much time already. Then stop wasting it. Come see me next week. I've got a layover in San Diego, 3 days. We could make it special. I'll be there. Message after message. Month after month. Plans made. Lies coordinated. A whole secret life built in the gaps between the truth. I set the iPad down carefully, stood up slowly, walked to the window. Our backyard looked exactly the same. Green grass, slightly overgrown. The fence I'd repaired last summer after the storm. The garden Melissa said she wanted but never maintained, now full of weeds and withered plants. The patio furniture we'd bought on sale 3 years ago, fading in the sun. Everything exactly as it was yesterday. Except it wasn't. Because yesterday I didn't know. Yesterday I was still living in the marriage I thought I had. Today I was living in the truth. Something shifted inside me. Not anger, not yet. Anger is hot, immediate, reactive. This was colder, clearer, more like the feeling you get when you finally solve a complex problem, when all the variables align and the solution becomes obvious. I wasn't going to cry, wasn't going to beg, wasn't going to have some pathetic conversation where she pretended to care while already planning her next trip to San Diego, where Cameron apparently lived between flights. I was going to dismantle them both, carefully, completely, methodically, the way I dismantle a faulty logistics system, identify the weak points, apply pressure, watch it collapse, and they wouldn't see it coming because they thought I was boring, harmless, too comfortable to fight back, too passive to retaliate, too stupid to notice in the first place. They were wrong about all of it. I took screenshots, every message, every photo, every plan they'd made, every lie Melissa had told. I sent them to my personal email, all of them, created a backup folder, downloaded everything to a USB drive, made copies, stored them in different locations. Then I went through her iPad settings and deleted the sent messages from her email, cleared the recently deleted folder, covered my tracks. She'd never know I'd been there. When Melissa came home from yoga, glowing and relaxed, I was reading a book in the living room. "Good class?" I asked. "Great. Really needed that stretch." "I bet. You want lunch?" "Sure. Let me shower first." She went upstairs. I heard the water running, imagined her standing under the spray, thinking about Cameron, planning their next meeting, believing she was safe. I made sandwiches. We ate together, talked about nothing important, the weather, a movie we might see, whether we needed groceries, normal marriage conversation, except now I knew it was performance, theater. We were both acting, but only one of us knew it was an act. Then I went deeper into my investigation. Cameron's Instagram was public. Pilots love social media. The uniform gives them status. They post pictures from cockpits, exotic destinations, hotel bars in different cities, living the dream, they call it. His bio said exactly that. Living the dream. Profile picture showed him in his uniform. Strong jaw, confident smile, expensive sunglasses. The kind of smile that says, life has always been easy. That says, he's never faced real consequences for anything. I scrolled through his feed, recognized some locations from Melissa's work trips. Same hotels, same restaurants, sometimes posted on the same days, hours apart. They weren't even being careful. His tagged photos showed a pattern. Different women in different cities, arms around him at beach bars, sitting next to him at upscale restaurants, always attractive, always smiling. Melissa wasn't special. She was available, convenient, willing to pay. I searched his name on LinkedIn, found his employment history, Pacific Airlines, 5 years. Before that, a smaller regional carrier. Before that, flight school, standard pilot career progression, cross-referenced his flight schedule with Melissa's work trips. Pacific Airlines posts crew schedules publicly for crew coordination purposes. Most people don't know that. Most people don't think to look. They matched. Every single time. When Melissa said she was in Seattle, Cameron had a layover in Seattle. When she said Phoenix, he was overnighting in Phoenix. San Diego, Portland, San Francisco, Miami again. Perfect correlation. I found something else too. Something interesting. Cameron had money problems. His posts showed expensive tastes, designer clothes, high-end restaurants, luxury hotels even on his off days, watches that cost more than most people's monthly rent, cars he posed with but didn't seem to own, but his lifestyle didn't match his income. Second officers make decent money, but not that kind of money. Not bottle service at nightclubs money. Not designer everything money. I dug deeper, found his address through a people search website. $12 gave me his full background, rental history, previous addresses, court records. He rented a condo near the San Diego airport. Market rate was about $3,000 a month, expensive for a second officer. His car was leased, not owned. His credit cards, based on the spending patterns visible through tagged locations and posts, were probably maxed. He was living on credit and charm, and apparently, my wife's money. I checked our credit card statements more carefully, found something I'd missed before. Melissa had added an authorized user to her personal credit card 3 months ago. The statement didn't show the name, just that an additional card had been issued. I called the credit card company, explained I was concerned about fraudulent charges, asked who the authorized user was. They needed to verify my identity first, social security number, mother's maiden name, last 4 digits of the card. The authorized user is Cameron Blake, the representative said. And when was he added? January 15th of this year. 3 months. She'd been funding his lifestyle for 3 months. The flights she claimed were work trips. She was paying for them. The hotels, her card, the restaurants where he took other women. She was subsidizing her own betrayal, paying for him to cheat on her while she cheated on me. The irony was almost funny. Almost. I sat with this knowledge for 2 weeks. Didn't change my behavior. Came home at the same time every day. Kissed her cheek when I walked through the door. Asked about her day. Listened to her lies with a smile. Made dinner. Watched TV together. Went to bed. She lied. I smiled. We were both performing. But only one of us knew the show was ending soon. During those 2 weeks, I built my plan. Not impulsively, not emotionally, carefully. The way I'd design a logistics network. Multiple routes, redundant systems, contingency plans for every possible outcome. First, I consulted a lawyer. Quietly. Found one 3 towns over where nobody would recognize me. Paid cash for the initial consultation. No paper trail, no credit card receipts. Nothing Melissa could trace. Got advice on asset protection. Learned that in our state, infidelity didn't matter much for divorce settlements. No-fault state. Didn't matter who cheated. Assets got split relatively evenly, regardless. But financial infidelity, that mattered. Melissa using marital funds to support her affair partner, that could be argued as dissipation of assets. I could potentially recover those funds in the settlement, or at minimum, have them deducted from her share. I started moving money, not illegally, carefully, strategically. I had a separate checking account from before we married. I'd kept it open but barely used it, maybe $100 sitting there for emergencies. Now I redirected my paychecks to that account. Changed my direct deposit at work. Simple form. No explanation needed. I still paid all household bills from the joint account. Mortgage, utilities, insurance. Everything looked normal. But my income stopped flowing into the joint account. It was building elsewhere. Safe. Protected. I documented everything. Printed bank statements showing the cash withdrawals. Saved receipts from restaurants Melissa claimed were client dinners. Created a detailed timeline with dates, locations, amounts spent. Compiled the Instagram messages. Printed them. Highlighted the relevant sections. Made it impossible to deny or explain away. Cross-referenced Cameron's posts with Melissa's location data. Built an airtight case showing they'd been in the same cities on the same dates dozens of times. But I didn't file for divorce. That would be too clean, too simple, too easy. They'd split up, move on, face no real consequences. Cameron would find another woman to fund his lifestyle. Melissa would play the victim. Tell everyone I was cold and distant, that I didn't appreciate her, that she deserved better. That's not how this ends. I wanted them to understand something fundamental. Actions have consequences, not just legal consequences, Not just paperwork and signatures and divided assets. Real consequences. The kind that follow you, change you, break you in ways that paperwork can't touch. Some people might call that revenge. I call it justice. There's a difference. I started with reconnaissance. Know your enemy, as they say. Sun Tzu understood that victory comes from preparation, not confrontation. Cameron lived in a condo complex called Harbor View Towers, 12 stories, modern glass and steel construction, pool on the roof, gym on the second floor, parking garage underneath, nice place, too nice for his income. I drove past it one Saturday afternoon while Melissa was at a yoga retreat. The building had open parking, no gates, no security checkpoint, just a ramp leading down to the garage, easy access. I parked across the street, watched the entrance, saw Cameron leave around 2 p.m., gym bag over his shoulder, wearing athletic clothes, heading to work out probably. I followed him, not closely, kept 2 or 3 cars between us. He went to a big commercial gym 3 blocks away, spent 90 minutes inside, came out looking tired but satisfied, drove home, same route, predictable. Over the next 2 weeks, I learned his patterns. He hit the gym 3 times a week. Always the same times. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 p.m. Rest day schedule, probably. He bought groceries on Sunday mornings. Always the same store. Always around 10 a.m. He spent weekday afternoons at a coffee shop near his condo, probably studying flight manuals or reviewing procedures for recurrent training. He was comfortable, settled into routine, confident, probably thought he was untouchable. Pilots have a certain arrogance. The uniform gives them automatic respect. Women chase them. Men admire them. Society treats them like minor celebrities. He'd never faced real consequences for anything. Probably sailed through life on charm and good looks and the status that comes with saying, "I'm a pilot." Probably never met someone who didn't care about any of that. He was about to. But first, I needed to set the stage. Revenge isn't about impulse. It's not about anger. It's about architecture. You build it carefully, layer by layer. Foundation first, then walls, then roof. Make sure every piece supports the next. So when you finally apply pressure, when you finally push, everything falls exactly where you planned. Perfect collapse, controlled demolition. I started with Melissa's work. That's where the foundation needed to crack first. I called Pacific Airlines customer service, said I had a concern about flight safety, said I'd observed one of their pilots posting about alcohol consumption less than 8 hours before a scheduled flight, said I wasn't trying to get anyone in trouble, but as a frequent flyer, I was concerned. They took my report seriously, asked for details, flight numbers, dates, social media evidence. I provided everything. They said they'd investigate. I thanked them and hung up. The FAA doesn't mess around with these reports, even anonymous ones. Even if they turn out to be nothing, they investigate, they interview, they scrutinize, and pilots know this. The threat of investigation is almost as bad as the investigation itself. Cameron would be sweating now. Even if nothing came of it, his bosses would be watching him closely. But I wasn't done. I created a fake email account, sent a message to Pacific Airlines HR, said I'd been in a relationship with one of their pilots, Cameron Blake, said he'd made inappropriate comments about bypassing safety regulations, said he'd bragged about drinking before flights, said he'd mentioned falsifying rest logs. I didn't sign it, didn't provide contact information, just sent it and deleted the account. Would they take it seriously? Maybe, maybe not. But it would add to the file, create a pattern, make Cameron look like a risk. Then I focused on Melissa. I knew her password. We'd set up our accounts together years ago. She'd never changed it. Why would she? I was harmless Derek, boring Derek. Derek, who didn't ask questions. I logged into her work email. Found what I was looking for immediately. She'd been using her work email to communicate with Cameron. Hundreds of messages, some during work hours, some containing personal photos. Nothing openly suggestive, yet clearly inappropriate. I forwarded the entire chain to my personal email. Then, I did something clever. I created a rule in her email settings. Any message containing Cameron's address would automatically forward to a specific folder, hidden. She'd never see it, but I would. I also found something else. She'd been padding her expense reports, claiming meals with clients that never happened, charging personal Uber rides as business expenses. Small amounts, $5 here, $20 there. Over 6 months, it added up to about $2,000. Not enough to press charges, but enough to fire her for cause, which meant no severance, no unemployment, just gone. I compiled everything, created a clean professional document, laid out the evidence, dates, amounts, screenshots, made it irrefutable. Then I waited. Melissa came back from Seattle glowing, happy. She barely spoke to me, just unpacked and disappeared into her phone. I watched her smile at messages I couldn't see. She thought she was winning. I went to work, came home, maintained the routine. But every night I refined my plan, checked my evidence, made sure everything was airtight. 2 weeks later, I made my next move. I printed everything. The Instagram messages, the expense report fraud, the inappropriate use of company email, put it in a manila folder, drove to Melissa's office. I didn't ask to see her. I asked for Carl, said it was personal, urgent. He brought me into his office, closed the door. "What's going on, Derek?" I handed him the folder. "I need to show you something." He opened it, started reading. His expression changed, confusion, then concern, then anger. "How long has this been happening?" he asked. 6 months, maybe longer. "And you're sure this is accurate?" "I wouldn't be here if I wasn't." He closed the folder, rubbed his face. "This is bad, Derek. Really bad." "I know. What do you want me to do with this?" "Whatever your policies require. I'm not asking for favors. I'm just giving you information. What you do with it is up to you." He nodded. "I'll need to investigate, talk to HR, review her accounts." "That's fine. I'm not trying to ruin her. I'm just done being lied to." He stood, shook my hand. "I'm sorry, Derek. This is a hell of a situation." "Yeah, it is." I left, drove home. Melissa wasn't there, probably with Cameron, planning their future, thinking they were safe. 3 days later, Melissa came home early, crying. She'd been fired. Carl had confronted her with the evidence. She'd tried to deny it. He showed her the receipts, the forwarded emails, the timestamps. She had no defense. HR walked her out immediately. She blamed me. Of course she did. "You did this," she screamed. "You went to my boss." I showed him the truth. "You did this to yourself. You ruined my career. You ruined our marriage and stole from your company and lied for 6 months. This isn't on me." She threw her purse across the room. "I hate you." "I know. You made that pretty clear. I'm leaving." "Okay." She packed a bag, grabbed her keys, stopped at the door. "You think you've won? You haven't. Cameron and I are going to be fine. Better than fine. We're actually happy. Something you'd never understand. Good luck with that." She left, slammed the door. Tires screeched. Gone. I sat down, poured myself a drink. Felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sadness, just cold clarity. Because this wasn't over, not even close. Melissa thought losing her job was the punishment. It wasn't. It was the setup. Now came the real work. I knew where Cameron lived. I knew his schedule. I knew he'd be feeling pressure from the airline. The anonymous reports would have triggered an internal review. He'd be defensive, paranoid, probably blaming Melissa for bringing drama into his life. Perfect. I started showing up in his world. Not obviously, not threateningly, just there. I'd go to the coffee shop where he studied, sit 2 tables away, read my book, drink my coffee, leave before he did. I'd go to his gym, different times than him. But occasionally we'd overlap. I'd nod, polite, casual. He never recognized me. Why would he? He'd never seen my face. I wanted him to feel something, a shadow, a presence. The sense that his world was shrinking. Then I escalated. I printed some of Cameron's Instagram posts, the ones showing drinks before flights, added timestamps, flight numbers, made it look like an official report, mailed it to the FAA, anonymously, no return address. The FAA would investigate again, this time with more detail, more evidence. They'd interview his colleagues, check his flight logs, look for patterns. Cameron would be pulled from active flight status during the investigation. Standard procedure, no pay, no flying, just waiting. Meanwhile, I focused on their relationship. I knew Melissa was staying with Cameron, his condo, playing house, probably telling herself this was romantic, that they'd overcome the obstacles together, build a life. What she didn't know was that Cameron was drowning. His income had stopped. His credit cards were maxed. His condo rent was due. And his girlfriend, the one who'd been funding everything, was now unemployed. I watched the pressure build. Melissa started posting less on social media. Her few posts looked strained, forced happiness. Cameron stopped posting entirely. I waited 3 weeks. Then I made the call. I used a burner phone, called Cameron directly, got his number from a crew scheduling website. Pilot's contact info is semi-public for crew coordination. He answered on the 3rd ring. Yeah? Cameron Blake? Who's this? Someone who knows what you've been doing. Silence. Then, wrong number. I don't think so. I think you've been sleeping with Melissa Hawthorne. I think you've been using her money. And I think you're about to lose everything. He hung up. I called back. He didn't answer. I texted, we should talk, face to face, or I send everything I know to everyone you know. He responded, who is this? Her husband. 3 dots, disappearing, appearing, disappearing. Then, what do you want? To meet. One time, you hear me out, then I leave you alone. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't, but you don't have a choice. Long pause. Then, where? I gave him an address. A parking garage near the airport. Top level. Open air, public enough to be safe, private enough to talk. Tomorrow, 8 p.m., come alone. Fine. I showed up early, parked in a corner spot, waited. He arrived exactly on time. Driving a leased BMW he couldn't afford, probably still on Melissa's credit. He got out, looked around, spotted me, walked over slowly, cautious. Up close, he looked tired, worn down. The confident pilot from the Instagram photos was gone. This guy looked like he hadn't slept in days. You Derek? He asked. Yeah. So talk. You've been sleeping with my wife for 8 months. You've been using her money to fund your lifestyle. You've lied to her about your situation, and you've put her in a position where she lost her job. That's on you, man. You went to her boss. She stole from her company. I just provided evidence. Whatever. What do you want? I want you to understand something. You thought this was just fun, a fling, no consequences. But there are always consequences. He crossed his arms. You threatening me? No. I'm explaining reality. Your airline is investigating you. The FAA is looking into your flight logs. Your income is gone. Your credit is maxed. And the woman who was paying for everything is now broke and living in your condo. How long before you can't make rent? His jaw tightened. You did this. No. You did this. You thought you could take whatever you wanted without paying for it. Now the bill is due. So what? You want me to break up with her? Beg for forgiveness? I don't want anything from you. I'm just letting you know how this ends. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your career. And you're going to lose her. Because once she realizes you're broke and going nowhere, she'll leave. That's who she is. You don't know her. I was married to her for 9 years. I know exactly who she is. He stepped closer, trying to look tough. You need to back off. Or what? Or I make you back off. I smiled. Go ahead, try, but understand something. I know people at your airline. I know people at the FAA. One call from me and you're not just grounded. You're done, permanently, no flying, no second chances, just a lifetime of wondering what could have been. His hands curled tight, yet he didn't strike. He understood I was right. Reacting with aggression would only backfire on him. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. I walked back to my car, drove away, left him standing there, angry, helpless. That night, I slept better than I had in months. 2 weeks later, Cameron was officially terminated. Pacific Airlines completed their investigation, found multiple policy violations, drinking before flights, falsifying rest logs, inappropriate conduct. He was fired for cause. No recommendation, no reference, just gone. The FAA suspended his license pending their own investigation, 6 months minimum, possibly permanent depending on their findings. Cameron Blake, the confident pilot with the easy smile, was unemployed, unlicensed, broke. Melissa called me, first time in a month. What did you do? She asked. What do you mean? Cameron lost his job. They said there were reports, complaints. Was that you? I reported safety concerns. That's it. What they found was on him. You destroyed his career. He destroyed his career. I just made sure the right people knew about it. You're a monster. I'm practical. There's a difference. She hung up. I never heard from her again directly, but I kept track, through mutual friends, through social media, through the patterns that people leave behind. Melissa moved out of Cameron's condo. He couldn't afford it anymore. She moved in with her friend Lillian, the same friend who'd covered for her during the affair. Lillian worked in HR at a corporate office downtown, made decent money, had a spare room. Melissa started looking for work, but she'd been fired for cause. No reference from her last employer, a gap in her resume. She was damaged goods in the job market. She took temp work, receptionist positions, administrative assistant gigs, nothing permanent, nothing with benefits. Her income dropped by 2/3. Cameron moved back in with his parents, in his 40s, living in his childhood bedroom, applying for jobs he was overqualified for, but couldn't get because of his record. They broke up, quietly. No dramatic ending, just a slow collapse. They couldn't afford to be together, literally. Their relationship was built on money and lies, and when both ran out, there was nothing left. I could have stopped there. Could have called it done. They'd both lost. I'd won. But that opening hook I mentioned? Your lover can't walk? That still needed to happen, because intellectual victory isn't enough. Sometimes people need to feel it, physically, viscerally. They need to understand in their bones that they made a mistake. I waited 3 months. Let them settle into their new reality. Let them think the worst was over. Then I started tracking Cameron again. He'd taken a job at a package delivery warehouse, loading trucks, overnight shift, hard labor, minimum wage, about as far from flying as you can get. He still lived with his parents, still drove the BMW, though it looked rougher now. Dent in the bumper, expired registration sticker. He'd let himself go, gained weight, stopped posting on social media, became invisible. Perfect. I learned his schedule. He worked 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., parked in the employee lot behind the warehouse, chain-link fence, poor lighting, minimal security. I showed up one night, 4 a.m., middle of his shift, parked near his car, waited. He came out for a smoke break, leaned against the fence, lit a cigarette, stared at nothing. I got out, walked toward him. He saw me. Recognition flickered across his face, then fear. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Came to check on you, see how you're doing." "I'm fine. Leave me alone." "You don't look fine. You look tired, broken. Just go, man. I don't want trouble." Too late for that. I moved closer. He backed up, hit the fence. "I told you there would be consequences," I said. "Remember? In the parking garage? You thought I was bluffing. I get it, okay? You won. I lost. Just leave me alone." "Not yet." He tried to move past me. I grabbed his arm. He pulled away, swung at me, sloppy, desperate. I ducked, stepped inside his guard, drove my fist into his stomach. He doubled over, gasping. I hit him again, jaw, he went down. Landed hard on the asphalt. "What are you doing?" he wheezed. "Teaching you?" I kicked him in the ribs, not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to hurt, to remember. He curled up, tried to protect himself. "You thought you could take my wife, my money, my life, and face no real consequences. But here we are." I kicked him again. "Leg this time," he cried out. "Please," he gasped. "Stop." "Why? You didn't stop when I asked you to leave my wife alone. You kept going, kept taking, kept assuming you were safe." I grabbed his collar, pulled him up, slammed him against the fence. "Look at me," I said. He looked up, a cut on his lip and tears streaming down his face. "This is what betrayal costs," I said. "This is what happens when you think you're smarter than everyone else. You're not. You're just another loser who got caught." I let him go. He slumped down, sat against the fence, breathing hard. "I'm done with you," I said. "Don't call the cops. Don't tell anyone. Because if you do, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly why this happened. I'll send your parents the Instagram messages, your old colleagues, your new boss, everyone, and you'll lose the last shred of dignity you have left." He didn't respond, just sat there, defeated. I walked back to my car, drove away. The next day, Melissa called. Don't know how she found out. Maybe Cameron told her. Maybe she still cared enough to check on him. "You put him in the hospital," she said. "Did I?" "He has broken ribs, a concussion." "Derek, what did you do?" "I had a conversation. Things got physical. Happens sometimes." "You're insane." "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just done being the nice guy, the forgiving husband, the man who takes it quietly. I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. Tell them what? That the man you cheated with got into a fight? That you're worried about him? They'll ask questions about you, about him, about us. You sure you want that?" Silence. "I didn't think so," I said. "I hope you're happy." "I am. For the first time in months, I actually am." She hung up. I meant it. I was happy. Not because I'd hurt Cameron, but because I'd taken control. I'd stopped being a victim. I'd made them understand that actions have consequences. Cameron pressed charges, assault and battery. I got a lawyer, explained the situation, the affair, the financial theft, the emotional damage. My lawyer made it clear that if this went to trial, everything would come out. Every detail, every message, every lie. Cameron dropped the charges, took a restraining order instead. We had to stay 500 feet apart, fine by me. I never wanted to see him again anyway. Melissa filed for divorce. I didn't contest, let her have whatever she wanted, the furniture, the dishes, the photos. None of it mattered anymore. The house sold. We split the proceeds. She got her half, moved to another city, started over. I stayed, kept my job, rented an apartment near work, started living again. People want to know if I feel any remorse for what I did, for the retaliation, for how methodically it was carried out. I don't. Because they chose to hurt me. They chose to lie. They chose to assume I'd just take it. They were wrong. 6 months later, I ran into Lillian, Melissa's friend, the one who'd covered for her during the affair. We were at the same coffee shop. She saw me, looked uncomfortable. "Derek," she said. "Hi." "Lillian. How are you?" "Good. You?" "Fine. Look, I just want to say I'm sorry about everything. I should have told you what was happening. I thought it was between you and Melissa." "It was, until you decided to help her hide it." She looked down. "I know. It was wrong." "Yeah, it was. For what it's worth, she's not doing well. The divorce hit her hard. She lost everything. She lost what she threw away. Big difference." Lillian nodded. Started to leave. Stopped. Cameron's not doing well either. I heard he tried to get his pilot's license back. FAA denied him, permanently. Good. Derek, do you ever think about, I don't know, forgiveness, moving on? I have moved on. I'm fine. Better than fine. They're the ones stuck in the past. She left. I finished my coffee. Went home. That night, I thought about what Lillian said, about forgiveness, about moving on. I realized something. I had moved on, not by forgiving them, by defeating them. Some people need closure through understanding, through therapy, through tears and long conversations and painful honesty. I needed closure through victory, through seeing them broken, through knowing they'd never forget what they'd done to me. And now I had it. I slept well that night. No nightmares, no regrets, just peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you stood up for yourself, that you didn't take it quietly, that you made them pay. Some people might call that wrong, vindictive, cruel. I call it justice. Because in the end, that's what this was about. Not love, not marriage, not even revenge in the traditional sense. Justice. They took something from me. I took it back. With interest. Now we're even. Last week I saw Melissa one more time, shopping mall. She was with someone new, younger guy, looked nervous. She looked older, tired. She saw me. Our eyes met. She looked away first. I kept walking. That's how I knew I'd won. Not because I'd hurt them, not because they'd lost their jobs or their future or their dignity, but because when she saw me, she was afraid. And I wasn't afraid anymore. I got home that night, made dinner, watched TV, went to bed early. Normal life, boring life, the life I chose. And somewhere out there, Cameron was loading boxes in a warehouse. Melissa was on a third date with a guy she'd eventually leave. Lillian was probably covering for some other friend's affair. And I was here, alone, victorious, not lonely, not bitter, not broken, just free from the weight of betrayal, free from the burden of being the nice guy, free from the expectation that I should forgive and forget. I didn't forgive. I won't forget. But I'm done. They thought they knew me. The quiet husband, the boring engineer, the man who wouldn't fight back. They were wrong. I'm the man who dismantled them completely, legally, financially, physically, psychologically. I'm the man who won. And I'll sleep well tonight knowing that when she left for that shopping trip, she thought she was safe. She thought her lover would protect her. But I told her the truth. Your lover can't walk. And in that moment, she understood everything.